Okay, so disclaimer, this is a longer video, but if you're looking for encouragement or if you are trying to build your brand or yada yada yada, I think this might be helpful. So to give you guys a little background, I am a content creator, but I'm also an author, and I also am a copywriter. So I have these different veins of my life. Most recently though, my job has been mom, and that has kind of eclipsed everything else that I've had going on. So I feel like a lot of the things that I considered my norm or things that were part of my life look radically different these days, and I'm finding myself trying to kind of redefine what my new normal looks like, what I want it to look like, etc., etc. So that's the background of me. Yesterday, the pastor just had a message that I thought was so good. Essentially, what he said was, you don't use the same type of bait for every fish. And maybe that seems really straightforward and obvious, but in that moment, I recognize that obviously what he's really talking about is trying to find your place and your space within this online community, right? So for some people, I always say, I think some people are consumers, I think some people are producers, I think some people are a mix of both. But if you are on the side of being a producer, somebody who is creating content and is building your brand, I think it's really important and essential to almost have on blinders when it comes to the vision that you have for the brand that you want to build. And I think part of what has happened for me is that it's been a bit convoluted. So let me explain further. What I mean by that is there's the past brand that I built on Instagram. There's a new brand that I want to build through TikTok, which looks similar but a little bit different. And then there's the reality of my current circumstances. And I think when there are these different variables that seem like they're kind of at odds or fighting each other sometimes, it can feel a little bit intimidating, at least for me, about the direction and where I want to go and where I want to head. So to elaborate further, he went on to say, what's really, really important is locking in and understanding what it is about you that you think God has gifted you, that you think he has specifically designed and placed within you to bring into this world. And to be clear, he was speaking about it more from like a discipleship standpoint. So he was saying, if you are trying to connect with people and help them learn about God, don't diminish your story because you don't think that you have a story that's as much of a success story as somebody else, or you don't think you have a story that would encourage anyone or would be worth telling. And what I really loved about it is, yes, I think from a spiritual standpoint, absolutely. I think sometimes we can think that our testimony isn't, mind-blowing or groundbreaking or whatever. But I also think that that can also play into content creation. So I think sometimes we'll see somebody go viral or we'll see somebody who's doing really well, and there will be a temptation to imitate what you've seen somebody else doing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with being inspired by somebody. I saw a video the other day and the girl said, I think that there are two types of being jealous or envious, and it was so good. She said, I think that the first one is aspirational. She was like, you see somebody and you admire what they're doing and you're like, oh my gosh, that can be me, I can do that too, right? The other side of it though is you see it and you want to take it away from them. You wish that they didn't have it. You wish that you had it for yourself, right? So that's more of like a coveting type jealousy. So I say that to say, I feel like sometimes if we feel like we don't have the following that we're looking for, if we feel like we're not getting the engagement that we're looking for, I think for me it was more so just like I pulled back off of Instagram significantly, and there was also like a significant drop in my engagement, obviously, because like I wasn't producing or creating content anymore. And I think for me, even though it was kind of a circumstantial disconnect that I created, it still kind of feels like I'm starting over in a way, if that makes sense. But the beauty in that, and what I'm trying to convey in this moment, is that I think if we are locked in to what it is that we are trying to do, right? If we are feeling and convicted that there's purpose in what we're doing, that it's valuable, that it's something that is going to help other people, and even if it's just something as simple as like something that we enjoy, I think it's really important to remember numbers in a more tangible sense, right? So I think sometimes numbers that we see online are so big and so inflated that we lose sight of the plot. So my perfect example is like if you were sitting in your backyard or in your house or whatever setting and 100 people walked in, that would be completely overwhelming, like knock you back. If 1,000 people walked in, they probably couldn't all fit in there, right? At least not comfortably. I don't know. Different people have different backyards and foyers. I don't know. But my point is, there is a number that is probably smaller than the number that you have pictured in your head of people who have chosen to engage with you and want to connect with you and are interested in your story and what it is that you have to say and what you have to tell. So I just really love the idea of locking in to who is there, studying what helped bring them, studying if it's something that you enjoy doing, if it's something that you want to make more of, and celebrate the fact that you have 300 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever those numbers are, who said, I like what you're doing and I want to see more of it. And it's not about validation, it's about connection, at least for me. So my thing is, if you are creating something that you want to be meaningful and that you want to reach people and that you want to help connect people with, keep in mind, it's a reciprocating relationship. They've also said, hey, I see you and I appreciate it and I want more of it. Please keep doing the thing that you're doing. That's the second part. The third part is that I was listening to a podcast, the Jay Shetty one, and he was talking about how there are different seasons for different things. And he's in a season, I think, of like learning. I think that's his season. So I have to go back and look at it, and I'm sorry to not have it fully correct. But basically he was saying there's a season where like you're going hard. He was like, there's a season where you are benefiting from the success of like the work that you put in. Then there's a season where you kind of reach this like crescendo in your success and you realize, okay, it's time for me to start exploring and start researching and start all these different things. And then the cycle, in the way that I remember at least, it kind of starts over again. So I think for me, one of the first questions or realizations that I had to have is, hey Chelsea, like what season are you in? Is it a season of building? Is it a season of success? Well, I know what a season of extreme growth and success looks like. It doesn't feel like that. And I'm also thinking, okay, well, is it a season of researching and learning? And I think that I'm in the season of researching and learning. There are new things that I want to do in this new reality of my life, and they require research to be able to execute them in a way that I will feel confident about them. So I say that to say, all of it, to say that if at times you feel discouraged or you feel like you're not quite hitting the mark, I've always loved the idea, something that my friend said a long time ago, is just cast the net wide. There is nothing wrong with pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, trying to figure out where your groove is. And then once you find that thing, you ride it out and do the same thing and add another thing and add another thing and add another thing. So anyway, I just wanted to say that your story matters. Your story is important. You have no idea that the person that you may be sharing it with, they may not ever give you any intimate details of why it was impactful for them or why it was touching for them, but still keep sharing. I think that there's something to be said about sharing without the expectation of getting praise or recognition for it, right? It's that you recognize that this is something that you have that's valuable, that you can offer to the world, and you put it out there and you let God do the rest. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I've been marinating on that. I just think it's so good, and I feel like it really like inspired me, and I just wanted to share it. So take care.